just one small, consistent action, intentional step will make a tremendous difference in your kid's life, in your marriage, especially around the idea of communication and keeping Christ at the center of it all.
Welcome to the Fathering Strong podcast, dedicated to empowering fathers to build stronger families and communities. Each week, we bring you conversations with experts, everyday dads, and community leaders who share their wisdom and experience to help you become the father your children need. Whether you're a new dad just starting out, a seasoned father facing new challenges, or someone who mentors and supports fathers in your community, you'll find practical advice, heartfelt stories, and evidence-based strategies to strengthen your fathering journey. You can find all our previous episodes, resources for fathers, and information about Urban Light Ministries programs at urbanlight.org. If you find value in our podcast, please subscribe and share it with other fathers in your life who might benefit from this community. And now, here's Pastor Eli Williams with this week's episode.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fathering Strong podcast. Eli Williams here. Delighted to have you along. We're also pretty pleased that we've got a special guest on the Fathering Strong podcast today. His name is Mike Mattis, and he is the leader of a fatherhood ministry called Kingdom Dads. Mike, welcome today.
Thank you. Thank you, Eli. Glad to be
Really
here.
glad you're here. Let's start, as we always do, with a few questions about Michael Mattis.
Sure.
And I like to begin with, if you will, you sharing with us something about your relationship with your father, particularly.
Sure.
And then about your own fatherhood journey. So let's begin with the story of little Mike Mattis.
Sure. Sure. Well, hello, everyone. Glad to be here, Eli. Thank you. So, my name is Mike Mattis. I grew up in a Christian home and a Christian family. I'm very thankful for that. Years there, multiple generations even. And so many good fatherhood memories growing up. I have had a great relationship with my own dad over the years. It's got its own trials of its own sort, but I am very thankful for his advice, for his direction. Every Saturday morning growing up, he was one of those guys like, hey, it's done best if you do it yourself. And so every Saturday morning, he would take me out to tinker on our car, to fix something on the car. And especially during my teen years, I remember just not wanting to get up early, but him forcing me to get up early with him, to fix the brakes, change the oil, put in a new headlight, something or other. And I did not enjoy that growing up, and him forcing me to get up, child labor right there. But I'm thankful now, looking back, for that. Now I can pull into any car shop with my car and tell them what's wrong with it and have them just fix that problem rather than getting raked over maybe by fixing too many things or the wrong thing entirely. So I appreciate my dad giving me those little life lessons of how to work with my hands and how to do different things and forcing me to do it. That's been good.
Yeah. Well, boy, oh boy, I know what you mean. I wish my dad had done more of that kind of thing, but certainly there were plenty of opportunities to not like what activity we were engaged in, and then only to grow up and go, I'm really glad that even though I didn't enjoy it at the time, I'm glad he did that and taught me that.
Yeah.
Because it's making a difference. Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
go ahead.
And then my own fatherhood journey. So I have 3 kids, 15, 13, 11. I'm into the teenage tween years now, which is fun. We are a house that is filled with books and wanting to keep our kids reading and engaged in reading. My wife and I are making sure that the kids see us in books, that we're reading books together. And my kids' names are Lucy, Peter, and the youngest, his middle name is Edmund. Lucy, Peter, Edmund. If that doesn't give away it's our Narnian connection, it's usually our dog Tumnus that does the trick. So our kids know very intimately that they are kings and queens of the king. and what that looks like to live in the presence of God and for His glory and our enjoyment of Him.
Let me ask you a question about that.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds that you read to and with your children.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Where does that come from? Did your father model that for you?
My mom read quite a bit to us growing up as kids. My dad worked very hard and long hours. So we were around some books, but not lots of books. Definitely much more. I saw my grandparents probably in books more. Um, and it was just something we wanted to have around our own kids. And I saw my dad in the Bible regularly, and it was a point of our family conversation. So I didn't have to be told, you need to read the Bible. I just knew that that was something that I needed to be about because I saw it modeled by my parents. And so my wife and I made that intentional work ourselves with our own kids. And
Yeah.
them
So
seeing
for the
us.
dads, I'm sorry, I'll get back to that. So
Yeah.
for the dads watching or listening,
Mhm.
a takeaway from that is that it's not always about what you tell your children to do.
Yeah.
It's what they see you doing.
Yes.
You know, they say some things are better caught than taught.
Yes. Yeah.
So you caught the value and the joy that comes from reading from the example you saw with your grandparents
Mhm.
and your mother perhaps,
Mhm.
and just knew that that was a good thing to do. So you emulated that, and now you're doing it with your children, and hopefully now that'll be a generational thing. Not much is better for helping build a child's intellect and curiosity than parents reading to and with their children.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. It's very much a thing where it's caught and taught at the same way, making sure what we're teaching, we're actually living into. I've certainly been called out by my kids by being on a screen too much when I'm telling them not to be on screens. And so making sure even to put down the phone and pick up a book instead every now and again. And even when I don't want to, knowing that I'm being watched by my kids.
Absolutely. Well, it seems like your kids are really gonna be something special. They already are.
I hope so. Yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're all coming into their own, and they all have their own dreams of things they want to do, and it's figuring out as a dad, okay, how do I encourage those dreams and encourage that sense of wonder? Encourage them to try new things when they don't wanna try it. Like, okay, am I pulling them out to work on the car just like my dad did? Uh, what knowing that that will feed their sense of wonder of learning later on in life,
whether they like it or not at the
whether
time,
they
right?
like it or not. Right, right.
So what are the ages? Lucy is how old?
So Lucy is 15. Yeah.
And Peter?
Peter is 13, and then Joseph is 11. Yeah. Yep.
Wait a minute, I'm missing one.
Nope,
Did you
that's just
did
the 3 of them. So
so
Lucy
where
is
did
15.
Edmund come from? What's
So that's Joseph's middle name is Edmund. So it's Joseph Edmund. My wife didn't like Edmund as a first name, so we made it his middle name. And Joseph is the first name of the first Mattis of our family to become a naturalized citizen in the United States through Ellis Island. So that's like our fun history of coming to the United States is through Ellis Island as an immigrant. Joseph Mattis becoming uh, a citizen here and working with his hands, working on Mack carts before they were Mack trucks in Allentown, Pennsylvania.
interesting. So how old is Joseph?
Joseph is 11.
Okay. So your children are all fairly close together in age.
Yes.
So what's that like? You got you, they all get along pretty well, or are they like most kids and you've got some rivalry and that kind of thing
Yeah,
in the
yeah. So
next?
we make it a pretty big point to tell them, hey, we got each other's back. We even wanted them to start seeing each other in schools. So we instigated a little game called I Spy a Mattis. So when they would pass each other in school, they would yell out, "I spy a Mattis." And all their friends would actually think it was fun and get involved in the game as well. But to know that they have each other's backs, they're teenagers in tween years, so they definitely have their moments with each other where they're pushing each other's buttons. But we will make them sit at the dinner table after the meal and have to have a conversation with one another to rebuild relationships when things are tense.
So in your fathering them, do you make time for building relationships with the individual children? And how do
Yeah.
you do that?
Yeah, so that's a very important piece, an intentional piece of fatherhood is spending one-on-one time with each of them. And so I try to spend at least a half hour each week with my kids, one-on-one, be it playing Lego together, going for a bike ride together. My daughter's now learning how to drive, so going out on the road together and asking them questions, asking them how their relationship with mom and dad has gone, with us, with their siblings, with their friends, and just learning about the things that they're excited about in life and how to, just give them small nuggets of advice, not trying to pour it on heavy, but a little bit here and there. And you learn a little bit about each one of them is so different and so unique. And I know that the same is true for myself. And I have two younger sisters. We're all unique and different in our own ways, even though we were brought up in the same house. And that's an incredible part of God's design that needs to get celebrated and figured out.
S- that's so good. So good. Now, so so the Bible tells parents to train them up in the way that they should go.
Yeah. Yeah.
What does that look like in the Mattis household? What are you doing to train them up in the way that they should go?
Yeah. So my kids love rhythms of life. And so we are constantly trying to develop new rhythms for the family life together. During the school year, it means we all wake up together and we have breakfast together as a family. We used to be able to do dinners together, but now with kids' activities in the evenings, it can be tough to do dinner together all the time. But we
Sure.
do breakfast together and we have like a family devotional time together where we're reading something again in a book together a little bit. And we've instigated a little thing with Hershey Kisses in the morning. So every morning, I love chocolate. So I needed some way to build chocolate into our daily rhythm as family life. And so mine
Strategic.
is strategic. Right, right, right. So mine is with 3 Hershey Kisses every school morning before we go off to school. We each get 3 Hershey Kisses, and the first Hershey Kiss we unwrap and we say, "This is God's love for us that restores us," and we enjoy the first Hershey Kiss. The second one is Christ's grace that redeems us, and we enjoy that Hershey Kiss together. And the third one is the Holy Spirit's peace that reconciles us, and then we have that one. And then my youngest usually is the one to finish us up by saying, "So we can go forth in joy." And have fun for the day. And then I get to send them sugared off to to their teachers. I'm sure the teachers love that. But there's a sense of joy then that we get to have as a
Yeah.
family, and doing a little benediction when I last see my kids when they go off to school. I always tell them, "Have fun, learn lots. I love you." And I don't think as dads we can say "I love you" enough to our kids. They need to hear that regularly. My daughter, I could tell her often how beautiful she is. My sons get to hear how proud I am of them. And I make it a point to say those things over and over in our life together.
So, what is the benefit of telling your daughter how beautiful she is regularly?
Yeah, I think because just in our societies, there's lots of different narratives out there yelling and screaming at our kids. And there's a sense of self worth that's always getting developed, especially in the teenage years and tween years, even in the late elementary years of who am I in the world. And when we can understand that we're beautiful in the eyes of our Father, then we understand that we're beautiful in the eyes of our Heavenly Father. And I hope that my daughter sees and understands that I am communicating what the Heavenly Father already knows about her on a regular basis. Similarly true with my sons and saying that I'm proud of them.
Yeah.
We want to hear, well done, good and faithful servant.
Yeah.
And so my sons hear, well done. I'm proud of you for that. Good work.
Yeah. That is so very wise. The other thing that telling your daughter how much you love her does is it sets a high expectation of her
Mm.
for other
Mhm.
men in her life,
Mhm.
other males in her life.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's going to expect any male that wants to get close to her to respect her
Yes.
and to treat her like a queen,
Yes.
at least like a princess.
Yes. Yes.
First of all, because she is, but secondly, because she will demand to be respected.
Yes.
She'll know what love from a male looks like,
Yes.
what it feels like.
Yeah.
Girls who grow up without that are in the world seemingly always looking for that from some male. And it starts young,
Uh-huh.
and we know what happens. They end up doing things trying to win that affection from a male, and that leads to no good usually.
Yeah. Yeah. From a young age, I started daddy-daughter dates with my daughter. I admit I'm not as good with them as I used to be, but I made it my own little goal that I would open the car door for her often. When we would go out on dates, I'd pull out the seat for her. She would see me paying the bill for her and everything. I dote upon her. She also knows how to use power tools. She's very good with that kind of stuff as well. And so just the confidence and confidence in all that, but understanding who she is. My desire is that when she goes on her first date, she'll go out, and if the guy doesn't open the car door, she'll just turn around, come back in, and say, "Daddy, it wasn't worth it." And that's a win in my book
Yeah,
for that. And in the same way,
absolutely.
I gotta work on this, but model again, it goes back to modeling. When we go out as a family, opening the car door for my wife so my sons can see me doing that and
Yes.
doing that as well. Yeah,
So they learn how a man should treat a woman
exactly.
from watching you.
Exactly.
What
Exactly.
wouldn't the world be a much better place if more dads were present and then behaving in that way, living in that way?
Yeah.
We'd have a much better world, wouldn't we?
Yeah. So to that point of presence, that's something that, again, another good habit in our family and rhythm is whenever we're sitting at the dining room table, we have a little saying, no tech or toys at the table. Meaning you can't be playing with a toy at the dinner table, and you can't have a phone. We can't have phones at the dinner table. Those things are away from the table, so we can have conversations with one another and see one another and engage in conversation with one another. We also make it a point at dinner time that we're not using that time to decide what we're doing for the rest of the night, but it's an opportunity to reflect back on the day together. So my wife makes it a point to ask the kids, what is something good from your day?
That's so
And
good.
engaging that together.
That's so good. How do you and your wife communicate about things like that, about how you're going to parent and how to handle situations as they come up and, anticipating things in which the two of you need to be on the same page. Talk about that.
Yeah, good, good. Yeah. We have something in the ministry I'm involved with Kingdom Dads. It's something called a weekly meetup with our wives. A simple weekly meetup. It's not so simple, but it is foundational. Where we have these 7 areas of life that we make sure to talk together. Each week we spend about at least 45 minutes, sometimes longer together, discussing Christ at the center of our relationship. How are we each doing in relationship with Christ? Knowing we want that to be the anchor. And then we check in on checkbook, like, okay, how are our finances doing in the house? What do we need to be looking forward to coming up that we're going to have to save up for? Vacations, kids' activities, birthdays, that kind of stuff. Then we check in on calendar and the events of the week and likely 2 weeks out and getting an understanding there. And I recommend to dads all the time, do not start with calendar. If you start with calendar, it's going to be a time suck for your entire evening together. And then you're going to be so tired out after talking through the calendar, you're not going to want to talk about anything else. But we talked through calendar, and then we talked through understanding of calling and uh, my wife's sense of calling and the things she's called to in the home and the things I'm called to as well, and vocationally as well as in the home. And then other things that hey, that we need to what we call contend gracefully on. Are there things we need to say I'm sorry for or work through? Is there any issue that's just starting to rub or cause some heat? And then we check in on our kids, each of our kids individually. How are they doing in their own development and discipleship? And how do we see them growing? Celebrating areas of growth, naming areas of opportunity with them. And then finally, community. And okay, how are we engaging our neighbors? How are we engaging families in our church? How are we making sure that our family is outward facing with being salt and light in the world around us is a key piece. And my wife and I then spend time every night praying both for our family and our neighbors and our community. So
So that's a daily routine that you and your wife do?
the prayer is daily. The meetup is weekly.
Weekly.
Mm-hmm.
That's so good. You should write all that down and put it into a manual. I've got a feeling you've already done something
Something we're working on.
And we're going to be talking about Kingdom Dads after
Yep.
this brief timeout. My guest today is Mike Mattis, and we'll continue our conversation right after this brief timeout.
Every father faces a crucial question. How do I become the dad my children truly need? I'm Bruce Stapleton, and my new book, Fathering Strong, God's Blueprint for Leading Your Family, offers the guidance you've been searching for. Drawing from scripture and real-life experiences, this book provides practical wisdom for fathers at every stage, from cradling a newborn to connecting with adult children. Discover how to build a legacy of faith, courage, and love through authentic fatherhood. Available now where books are sold.
This is the Fathering Strong podcast. Eli Williams here. Mike Mattis is my guest today. And boy, I'm really enjoying this conversation, Mike. And I'm sure that you have already said lots of things that are helpful to our listening dads. I want to ask you one more thing before we get into Kingdom Dads. I want to ask you, in your experience now as a father, during your fathering journey, what has been the most, if you could pick one thing, what has been the most challenging thing about being a dad?
The most challenging thing, very similar to probably our kids. It's just being present with them in the moment when there's lots of other things swirling through the mind that I need to be attentive to or want to be attentive to, and pressures of the world. Just being present with my family. There's times when I am certainly in the room, but I'll be called out. You're here, but you're not here. And what does that look like? And being able to look my kids in the eye, look my wife and I, and practice love with a presence.
So how are you called out about that? Is that someone externally doing that, or is that the Holy Spirit within you?
They'll see it. Yeah, my wife Beth. She'll notice. I get this, I guess, glaze in my eyes where she's like, "You are clearly in some other world right now. Like you need to be here." So I have my wife in that way. I also appreciate a community of dads around me that I can meet with regularly and check in on life and just be truly vulnerable with. And they're vulnerable back. They're not pulling punches, but I know that it's to encourage and me to be a better dad myself. So
that is so valuable. And we talk about that all the time here on the Fathering Strong podcast. And I know you practice that with your Kingdom Dads. And before we get to that, I've got one more question about your own fathering experience. What, if you could name one thing, and I know that there are many, but if you can name one thing, what is giving you the most joy in being a dad?
Laughter. Easily when we just break out in laughter at the table together, dinner table, sometimes my sons will say the silliest thing. I think this is the value of a good dad joke, that just brings out laughter, and we're all kind of, like, tearing up a little bit because something funny was said
Yeah.
or shared. And then when just the loving embrace, of a hug, be it a long hug with my wife, being it hugs from my kids after school day or after the work day, after a game. Those 2 things bring such great joy.
So you hug your wife in front of your kids?
Oh, yes. Yep.
What
Yep.
what 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 response do you what does
Yeah.
that elicit?
Usually elicits them hugging the 2 of us at the same time,
Oh,
or
that is so sweet.
we'll have family hugs, and my youngest son, he likes to try to wiggle himself in the middle because he wants to be squished,
Yeah.
in the midst of it all. So, yeah, my kids are used to seeing public displays of affection between my wife and I, in the form of hugs, and so they know that that is an sign of endearment. They're not grossed out by it in any way,
Yeah.
thankfully. So,
Oh,
yeah.
that's so sweet.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so you are actually involved in working with other dads,
Mhm.
and you have a ministry called Kingdom Dads. Tell us how that started and what inspired you or motivated you to begin that work.
Yeah, and before going there, just want to give out a shout out to Fathering Strong. What you guys are developing, the material you guys are putting together, phenomenal stuff. So I hope that your listeners are engaging with that as well, in a
Thank
deeper
you.
way. And I think the way it's going to complement even efforts like Kingdom Dads, for the kingdom is beautiful, and I'm excited for this collaboration that we're building together, for kingdom work.
Thank
Because
you.
what gets me out of bed every morning is the understanding that family is the smallest unit of culture, yet the most powerful. It is where where transformation begins and where it takes its seed form, and once it's planted and grows into a mighty oak, where the birds of the air want to make their home in a way like that's it's transformational. It If a dad is able to live truly into his calling as husband and dad and grows in his confidence and competence there, he will be a more confident and competent leader out in the world, and in his efforts in the church and in his career, because he'll have a strong family foundation. So it's a mutual work for cultural transformation.
That's great. So, how did it begin?
Yeah, so it began. So I was in college ministry for 21 years, working with college students all over the state of Ohio, primarily at Ohio State for several years, and then my final years was at Capital University. And during those years, my wife and I made it a very clear point to have college students stay with us for periods of time. Um, Opening up our house for hospitality, Christian hospitality, and eating meals with us. And I was surprised at how many of these students were coming from broken families themselves, college students, like they are coming from broken families. They don't have good relationships with their parents. And then their faith was their understanding of who they were and what was wrong with the world and how to be right was was so defined by their own upbringing that it took some deconstruction, reconstruction to happen in the college years to help them gain a good footing in the gospel and in who Christ has called them to be. Not in every case. There's definitely several highlights and beautiful relationships there, but many cases broken relationships. And I saw young parents even not having strong friendships with other parents and feeling like they were isolated and going it alone. Dads not having close friendships with other dads that they could call on and lean on. And while we're seeing anxiety and depression on the rise in our youth, it is equally in the rise of our parenting. In fact, I think the Surgeon General even called parenting one of the hardest things that happens, or one of the primary causes of anxiety and depression in our culture is parenting, because it's just so tough. And uh, recognizing that we shouldn't go it alone, that we're not called to go it alone. We're called into community with one another.
Mhm.
And I was introduced to another uh, dad here in the city who was working with a handful of young dads, working with them. And he wanted to see the work continue to grow and develop, and invited me to serve as the first executive director for Kingdom Dads in helping to grow this effort. And now we have developed cohorts of 6 to 9 dads in partnerships with local churches and schools and workplaces, for dads to just walk alongside one another, encouraging and equipping one another to lead and love their families.
These groups of dads, are they each from the same church, or are they mixed?
So primarily, the cohort is from the uh, same church or same school district or same community or same workplace. These are dads that are bumping into each other regularly anyway throughout the day, which creates just an awareness of each other, a vulnerability with one another. And then Kingdom Dads, what we're doing is we're giving them language and a shared direction for encouragement and equipping their family and their calling as a husband and dad. And so when we say that we're going to be intentional, we understand what that means and what that can look like. And I think bringing that level of clarity together and direction allows for depth of friendship and depth of accountability with one another.
Oh, that's so good. So, how many different groups do you have at any one given time on average?
Yeah, great. Right now, we have about 30 partnerships and 35 cohorts happening around the city of Columbus. And we also have a handful happening outside of Columbus and even outside Ohio, which is fun to see. God is doing a good work in the lives of dads, calling them to be the family shepherd that they're called to be.
And that's very good. Congratulations. That's
Mm,
great work. So, does each of these groups then have someone? Does one of the dads
Great question.
serve as the leader, or whatever your vernacular is?
Yeah, facilitator is our language. Like, we're coming alongside. So each group has a facilitator who is trained and equipped by Kingdom Dads in the material, both understanding the philosophy behind the material and the practicality of the material, are living into the intentional practices themselves, and inviting a group of guys from their church, from their school, from their workplace to come alongside them in this work. Um, we try not to say that we're leaders. Oftentimes we're referred to that way, but we're dads too that are working through it and figuring it out together. And we're always iron sharpening iron with one another.
That's great.
And it creates a great sense of accountability. I think our facilitators probably actually get more out of the cohorts than the cohort members, because are holding themselves to a higher standard of accountability and living into the practices.
Yeah. Oh, that's
So,
good. That's
yeah.
good. So you keep them purposefully or intentionally small, on the small
Yes.
side, 6 to 9. And
Yes.
what is the benefit of that?
So the benefit there is it allows them to grow deeply with one another. So each of our courses, we have 3 different courses. Each is just 6 sessions where a group will meet every other week or once a month for 3 months to 6 months at a time, to start turning over and living into the practical, intentional practices of Kingdom Dads. But in the small group, you can be vulnerable with each other and share what's going on in your life. If the groups get much bigger than 9, it becomes really hard for all the dads to have ample time to share and make it through the material. It's amazing how quickly we see dads just want to open up with each other and be vulnerable about what's going on. So sometimes the session might be spread out over multiple meetings only because the guys just need some time to share with one another.
Yeah.
Um,
How
and
long are your sessions generally?
they're generally an hour and a half long. So yeah, we want each dad to be seen and heard in the group. And when they get too much bigger, it's hard for that to happen. When they're smaller, then you run into the problem. If one dad says he can't make it, then do you cancel the group or do you keep trying to meet? So we found 6 to 9 guys to be kind of the sweet spot. Some of the groups are even 4 to 5, and that's still a great number and a good conversation to have. But
Yeah.
yeah, knowing that most dads only have 0.7 friends on average,
Yeah.
like we want to give them, 6 to 9 really solid
Yeah.
dad friendships.
Yeah. That's really smart. And because you're not dependent upon government funding, you're not nobody's counting the heads. Yeah.
Right.
So, which can be a problem
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
for folks working with dads because it's hard to get a bunch together. And besides, it's not even best to have a bunch of fathers in a
Yeah,
group.
dads have I mean, we all have quote unquote busy lives, or what I would
Yep.
like to say is full lives.
Yep.
Busy is a 4-letter word in our house. So we all have full lives. What we decide to make a priority. And so we don't want to overfill the guys' lives, but we also want to give them meaningful time together. My boy, we definitely want to look at numbers. We definitely want to see those numbers increase. But thankfully, yeah, where our funding is completely driven by donations and guys paying it forward for other dads, which is a beautiful, beautiful gift.
Hmm. Sounds kind of biblical to me. Very good. Very good. I mean, this is exciting. I know a little bit about Kingdom Dads, but you're giving some insight that I didn't have, and I am just so encouraged by what I'm hearing, and I'm so looking forward to us, prayerfully considering how might we collaborate and do something that neither of our
Groups can do it alone.
programs can do alone.
Yeah, yeah.
That sounds kind of biblical too. But anyway, that's another topic for another day. I'm going to take another break, Mike, and then when we come back, I want to dig it a little deeper
Mhm.
into Kingdom Dads, and more than that, into what you hope that in 5 to 10 years you can look back on and say, we did
Mm,
it, or this is what's been accomplished. Hooray, let's celebrate.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
Mike Mattis, my guest today on the Fathering Strong podcast. We'll take this final time out and we'll be right back.
Children benefit significantly from the presence of committed, loving, nurturing fathers. Strong fathers contribute to stable families and safe, healthy communities. Fathering Strong connects, engages, and empowers fathers. Join the fatherhood movement at fatheringstrong.com to discover a wealth of resources, from inspiring videos to informative articles and instructive courses. By subscribing to our resources, you're not just helping yourself, you're helping Fathering Strong provide these valuable tools to families in need. Visit fatheringstrong.com, download the app, and subscribe to our YouTube channel today. Together, let's build stronger families and communities.
Thanks for being with us on this installment of the Fathering Strong podcast. Eli Williams here. Mike Mattis from Kingdom Dads is my guest today. Mike, I wanted to sort of round third here
Get it?
with a question about what you see as the future of Kingdom Dads, and what do you hope to accomplish, let's say, after 3, 5, 10 years?
Yeah. So it's a long obedience in the same direction to steal from Eugene Peterson. And I think it's more than even 3 to 5 years. It's 30 to 50 years. I mean, I am thankful for my dad's work of intentionality, his dad's work of intentionality, his dad's work of intentionality. I'm fourth generation Christian. And that is a beautiful gift to future generations, I hope still. And so I would love to be able to see that. One of the things I love to see, so we have text streams for all our cohorts, and I get to be just a fly on the wall on the text streams. And when I see dads sharing pictures of their kids and sharing like, "Hey, I got to lead my son or my daughter to Christ tonight. It was amazing."
Mm.
Like that is beautiful. I had a great one-on-one with my kid. Here's a picture that they drew for me. Like, yes, you're spending time with your kids. That is great. Statistically shows that if the dad is present in the lives of their kids, the kids will have a resilient faith growing up. They won't
Mhm.
just hold on to it. Moms help keep the faith, but dads help to build the resilience of the faith. And so, my prayer is that we see another generation even more committed to being even more intentional and being brighter lights for the kingdom, saltier salt for the kingdom work, much beyond whatever we think we've managed to accomplish, but what he can accomplish through us. And so I look forward to future generations celebrating their dads and their grandfathers and even great grandfathers out of this movement and work for the kingdom.
That's so good. I'm inspired.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
Excellent. What would be your final thoughts for any dads,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
someone who loves dads who is watching or listening to this edition of the Fathering Strong podcast?
Yeah. So I was a math and physics major in college. I love that field of study. And there's just this understanding that when you make 1 degree of change over time, it can change tenfold, 100-fold, 1,000-fold. And so understanding that you don't have to be the perfect dad today, but take one step, one little action today, and live into it consistently for as long as you can, but for a week, maybe for 2 weeks, and then for a month. Just one small, consistent action, intentional step will make a tremendous difference in your kid's life, in your marriage, especially around the idea of communication and keeping Christ at the center of it all. That would be my one plea for all dads. Don't try to jump in and do it all. There's a lot of really good resources, and I'm thankful for the resources we're able to provide. I am humbled and thankful for the resources Fathering Strong is able to provide. Pick one of it and live into it consistently for a while. And you'll start to see the transformation, but know that it'll be generations beyond you that the real transformation of that work will come to play.
That's very inspirational. Thank you for sharing those very thoughtful words, and thank you for the kind words for Fathering Strong. That's encouraging. I would guess that encouragement is one of your gifts that the Lord has given you, because you're just full of
Thank you.
it. Thank you, and I mean all that only in the most positive of ways.
Yes.
Mike, thank you so much for joining us today on the Father and Strong podcast. Would love to have you back again, because there's so much more that we could talk about.
I would
And
love that. I'd be humbled. Love that.
excellent. All right. Mike Mattis, my guest today. He is with Kingdom Dads. And finally, Mike, how might someone get in touch with you if they want to learn more?
Yeah, great. Kingdomdads.org is our website. You can go on to About Us, and there's a team link there, and you can even sign up on the calendar link there on the website to schedule a phone call, a virtual meeting. If you're in the Columbus area, I would love to get together with you. I'll buy you a cup of coffee. For myself, it'll be a hot chocolate. I still haven't learned how to drink coffee yet. But I would love to get together and have a conversation on our website, kingdomdads.org.
Mike Mattis, my guest today. Please join us for another installment of the Father and Strong podcast. We'd love to to know that you're on the other end. If you'd like to subscribe to our YouTube channel, if you do that, you will be notified each time a new Fathering Strong podcast is released. So just go to Fathering Strong YouTube, and you'll see our archive of podcasts there, and sign up for a free subscription to the program. That helps us be able to provide our services free of charge to dads. This has been the Fathering Strong podcast. I'm Eli Williams. Bruce Stapleton is the whiz, the brains behind the operation of the podcast. So on his behalf and mine, we say thank you for joining us for this installment of the Fathering Strong podcast. God bless you.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Fathering Strong podcast. We hope you found the conversation inspiring and helpful. To make sure you don't miss out on future episodes, subscribe to the Fathering Strong podcast on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. Just search for Fathering Strong in your favorite app. The Fathering Strong podcast is brought to you by Urban Light Ministries, a nonprofit organization with a 3-decade legacy dedicated to turning the hearts of fathers to their children. Thanks to your support, we're able to keep this podcast and many other resources free for dads everywhere. To learn more about Urban Light Ministries or to donate and help us continue this important work, visit urbanlight.org. The Fathering Strong podcast is a production of Urban Light Ministries. Eli Williams is your host, and Bruce Stapleton of the Momentum Group is the producer and engineer. Our theme music is provided by saxophonist Harold Rayford.